You've decided that you want to pick up poi spinning. Congratulations! But where exactly do you start? What stuff do you want to pick up at the beginning, and in what order do you want to pick those things up in? I got you covered. Drex here from Drex Factor Poi, sharing with you the love of poi spinning and flow arts to benefit your body and brain. And today, I am counting down the 10 tricks that I think everyone ought to start their flow journey with. But before we dive in, I just want to give a quick shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Fire Mecca, Flow Fests, Flow Toys, Juggling Calling, Pyroterra Light Toys, Spin Balls, and Ultra Poi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all of these awesome companies and the work that they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by checking out the links that I have down in the description of this video. And special thanks to the non-business friends of the channel, Lei Muczynski and Becca Bekkonen. Thank you both so much for supporting my channel, my work, and my mission. Now, I remember when I was first starting off with poi, the majority of my education came from the tricks that my local friends knew how to do, plus whatever tutorials I could find on YouTube. Now, there's a lot more tutorials out there, including ones made by yours truly, but it's still kind of a mystery as to what the progression should look like. There were a lot of tricks that I picked up at the beginning that were like really hard, and at the same time, a lot of stuff that I picked up down the line that I'd wish I got into earlier. So I've gone ahead and I've created a list of the 10 tricks that I think are the best fit right at the beginning of your poi journey. Part of this has to do with which tricks are the most intuitive when you know little to nothing about poi. Part of it is also creating a progression and adding new skills to the ones that you've already acquired. And yes, caveat, this is a list that is very specific to the style of poi that I enjoy doing and I enjoy watching. There's going to be other people out there that are going to have their own list of 10 tricks that you should start with that are going to be different. And you know what? They can make their own video. But in the meantime, if you're looking for a quick guide for where to start and where to go, this should help you out. And we're going to get started with pendulums. Now, I truly believe that pendulums are the single most intuitive poi trick that you can start with, partially because they don't actually require you to be able to spin the poi in any given plane, and also partially because they're a great gateway into learning timing and direction. You can learn how to perform these pendulums in together same, together opposites, split time same direction, and split time opposites. Knowing those timing and direction modes is going to be a huge help for you in everything that you learn after this. Plus which, pendulums themselves make for a great transition tool. Once you've got pendulums under your belt, I truly think that the next logical step are extensions. Now, I've made pretty clear over the years that I think that we ought to think of poi as being essentially an extension of the performer's body and emotions. And, well, learning how to do extensions is a great example of that. To say nothing of the fact that they'll totally use all that knowledge on timing and direction that you acquired with your pendulums. Plus which, the volume they take up makes them super eye-catching and a pleasure to watch. And of course, once you have your extensions down, particularly those in together opposites, it's an easy road to get to poi butterflies. All you have to do is work your way down from performing together opposites extensions at full arm, then down to your elbows, and then just down to your hands and wrists. The butterfly is a classic trick, and it comes directly out of that work that you do with the previous one. Next up, the first poi trick that I ever learned, reels or reel turns. These are essential for learning the basic mechanics of plane facing. That is, depending upon which side of the poi plane you're standing on, you may perceive the poi to be moving in one of two different directions. Reels are a great way to practice this and begin to gain freedom of movement by being able to turn back and forth while you spin your poi. And rounding out our first 5, now that we have several other poi tricks under our belt, an obvious question: how do we transition back and forth between them? Well, pendulums will work for a lot of different things, but if I'm going to be real, I'm way more fond of using stalls, whether they be down stalls, bottom stalls, up stalls, or top stalls. Stalls are an incredible tool not just for changing timing and direction or switching back and forth between different types of planes, but also they make for a great trick that can punctuate the beat of the music that you're performing to, and they just look cool as is. Next up, given that we've already played around a little with basic reels around our hips, our next move is to play around with reels up near our shoulders, and in particular, those in split time same direction, or as they're more commonly known, windmills. Windmills can be found in two different forms, either with our hands staying up around our shoulders or creating more broad and open circles in front of us before bringing our poi back up and around our shoulders. This latter variation is also really helpful for what we'll cover next on the list too. And those would be in-spin flowers. Now, these are actually pretty similar to the extensions that we were playing around with earlier on the list, but what distinguishes the two is we're taking a little bit more active a role in determining what the relationship is between how many beats we perform with the poi and how many beats we complete with our hands as they move around in a circle. Those windmills that we played with in our last example actually technically are flowers themselves, but there are many other examples, and this is another case where knowing all of your timing and direction modes is going to come in real handy. And with both reels and in-spin flowers in our wheelhouse, it's not that far a leap to get into what I call tuck turns. That is, basically performing flowers that wrap around your body. These are kind of the first step into the world of body tracing, and they look pretty cool in and of themselves. And closing in on our final two tricks on this list, that's right, it is the one you've probably all been waiting for, the 3-beat weave. This instantly identifiable trick, and probably the most recognizable poi trick there is out there, has appeared in literally every prop in human history that is remotely close to poi. It's also deceptively difficult and takes a lot of time for beginners to pick up. That's why it's on the tail end of this list, but I also did not want to forget it. And before I share with you my final pick for what poi tricks you ought to learn first, I have a favor to ask. If you've come this far and you enjoy this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. I upload regular videos on poi spinning, including tutorials, reviews, flow sessions, and a whole lot more. So go ahead and give me a subscribe, and that will lead us to my final pick. It's waist straps. When you've learned how to perform both the forwards as well as reverse poi 3-beat weaves, learning how to turn back and forth between them is absolutely essential to opening up freedom of movement with those weaves. Plus which, it'll set you up for other tricks down the road such as fountains and body tracers, and well, it just looks super cool. This was one of my favorite accomplishments in my first year of spinning poi, and to this day, it is still one of my favorites. Want tutorials on some or all of these tricks? Hey, I've got you covered. I've included a link to a playlist full of video tutorials on all these different tricks down in the description of this video. Go check that out. And if you fancy this idea of a more structured learning environment and getting to build piece by piece, building upon your previous knowledge, I teach beginner live stream poi dance classes every Tuesday night specifically centered around that premise. You can sign up for those classes over at crowdcast.io/DrexFactorPoi. What did you think of my list? Were there any tricks that you were expecting to be on here that weren't? Any obvious ones that I missed? Which tricks would have been on your list of the 10 poi tricks to start with? Let me know down in the comments. This video would not have been possible without the kind support of all of these lovely people right here. These are my Flow patrons over on Patreon. They and the people listed down in the description help to make this video and all the videos on this channel possible. Thank you one and all for your very generous support. And if you out there watching right now are not currently a supporter but would like to become one, you can do that by heading on over to patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi and signing up. There you can get access to a whole host of awesome rewards, and even better, you'll be supporting me in my mission to bring poi spinning and flow arts to the whole wide world. So go check that out. Please and thank you. And hey, if you're super excited to begin your flow journey and just can't wait, I'll include a link to a playlist of my beginner tutorials down in the description, as well as up here on screen if you're watching on YouTube. Also, the YouTube algorithm thinks that you might like this top video here based upon your past viewing habits, so maybe give that a look as well. Either which way, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to get outside to flow today, and I'll see you with a new video on Wednesday. Peace.